Hello, in this video we are going to look at how to read data from a text file in Python 3. So let's start by making a new Python file, and we're going to call this reading from files demo. And you'll notice that I already have this file inside the same directory called data.txt, so we're going to read the information from there. And conveniently in the last video I populated it. So exactly the same as when you're writing to files, the first thing you have to do is create a variable and create a connection to that file with that variable. So I'm going to say f for my file equals, and I'm going to use the open command, and I'm going to open data.txt. And now I have to specify what I want to do with it. If you watched the last video, which is on writing to files, you notice that I can put a W here, which means write to the file, and when you write to the file, you erase what's in the file when you start. Or I could put an A here, which means append to the file, meaning that every time I run the program, it just adds more information to that file. But in our case, we want to read from the file, so we're going to put an R here. So what I can do is I can now read the information from the file. It's important to note that everything that's read from the file is always read as a string. And this is why it's so important to know the way your file is set up. So my file is always set up name, age, name, age, name, age. Because if you have integers in your file, you're going to have to convert that type to do any mathematics with them. So you have to make sure you know exactly when you're going to be reading a number versus a string. So let's just make a variable called content, and if we go f.read and then we print content, when we run this, what you see is you get the entire file as a bunch of text. And so the first thing to kind of highlight is that you can read an entire file with one line saying f.read, and this just copies the entire file into one long string. Now I'm going to try something here I didn't plan for, so this might work or it might not. I'm going to show you how to use a really useful command in Python, and it's called the split function. And what it does is it allows you to take a string and very quickly convert it into a list. And so, like I was saying before, if I use the read function from on a file, it just reads the entire contents of the file as one big long string. Now I could do some loops and some fancy manipulation to kind of pull out each element, put it in a list, yada yada yada. But what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to use this really powerful function called split. And it works like this. If I say list equals, and I say content dot split, and then I pass it a \n, and this is why I say I'm kind of trying this without testing it before, because I haven't done it with \n. What this means is it's going to take all the contents from the string, and wherever there's a \n, that's going to be like kind of what separates each element. So if I run this now, and I do something like print list, notice that I get all the information in that file in a nice list I can then manage. So this is one way to really quickly read an entire file and put it into a list, is you essentially use this read function, and then you can get all the data from the file as a string, and if you have some sort of common element separating each element that you want in the list, you can use that in the split. You know, another way to do this is if I did something like this. If instead my file structure said, okay, my file structure is going to work where I'm just going to put a colon between everything I add into the file, so it's all one line. What I can do is I can do the same split thing, but I'm going to split on the colon. So now I run it, and I get the same list, and because it's splitting on that colon. The colon is what indicates that this is going to make my first element to my list, this is my second element to my list, this is my third element to my list, my fourth element, fifth element, sixth element. Now let's just take a second, let's go back to the structure we had before here. And just to kind of show one more thing we can do with this. You know, there's two kind of ways you can approach this, broadly speaking. You can read the entire file at once, or you can read individual lines. And that is where I have this second function called readLine. And what readLine does is it reads one line at a time. So notice it read Stephanie, because Stephanie was one single line. So now if I do something like content equals f.readLine, and I print content, what happens is every time you read a line, it keeps track of where the cursor is in that file. So I get Stephanie, and then I get 117, which is the next one. And you'll notice that it's included the space, the enter at the end of the line, which we have to manage. We won't do that in this video. And so you can read single lines in this sense using this command. And that is the basics of how to read from a file in Python 3. In our later video, we're going to look at some more of the subtleties, the mechanics that allow us to do some more interesting things with loops and in situations when we don't know how long the file is. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Have a wonderful day.